Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends. Ooh, I forgot. Welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. And this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. And this time, I'm going to talk a little bit about some House of Mystery. Now, I have here the Showcase Presents House of Mystery Volume 1, but that's not what I want to talk about. And the reason I'm using that one is because the issue I want to talk about is House of Mystery number 185 from 1970. But unfortunately, there's no cover. This is just a beater. But I really liked this issue. So I've broke out this so I can show you the actual cover to this issue. House of Mystery. I see something spooky there, and someone running. And this is a Neil Adams cover. House of Mystery so often seem to have kids on the cover, even though, like in this story, in this one, there are no kids in the story, but so often they did. This is at the time when Neil Adams was doing all kinds of covers for DC Comics. And he was doing a lot of House of Mystery, you name it. It's across the board for DC. And then, of course, this book is format large square bound. What, 600 pages of comics? Ooh, that's cool. But it makes it look, showing the art a little bit difficult. So that way you can see the actual cover. But then when we go through the book, I'll just use this old beater. But first, I want to remind you that if you would like your own comic character card, 5-inch by 8-inch character card for you or a friend, and make wonderful gifts here. I have some various horror hosts from the comics. Reasonably priced, original piece of artwork. Contact me in the comments below with your email address, or contact me at my email address showing right here. Okay, and then here we are with this issue of House of Mystery number 185, and I can't remember the creators on this first story. Well, one of the things I like about it here, it starts right off, eee, and puff, 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 and that is Kane, our horror host. And so one of the things I liked about this is sometimes they would incorporate their horror hosts directly into the story. In this case, Kane is the lead character. Something has frightened him, and he rushes back to the house because it gets in there. And here we have the title on this splash page. Boom! Something on the top of the house. And then all these noises. He rushes up the stairs, looks out the window, and what the heck is this? And what? And it turns out, helps him in, a parachutist who landed on the house. Says, I don't know how I got off target so far. And I said, yeah, he's really off target because he's supposed to be landing in California. Said, I got to get no phone. Got to get help. He rushes to get goes out, hitch a ride. So car just goes right on by. So he goes back in, makes things comfortable for him, fixes him a meal, have a good time. Then this car comes, and these guys, they look like undertakers. And they come and they take the parachutist away. Okay, and then while Kane is puttering around in the house, he hears on the radio about this parachutist, dying in California because his parachute didn't open. He opens the door, and it's because his parachute was right there at the front door. I thought that was neat. Now here, some little jokes and games and stuff that they would also throw in here, which is, you wouldn't expect for something that's horror, like cartoons. Kane's Game Room by Sergio Aragones. Of course, that's the kind of stuff that they built the entire title of Plop around. That story that we just had there is a good example of something that could have been in Plop. Then Voice from the Dead. This is just a short one to throw in, but this is drawn by Wayne Howard. He later did a lot of the horror and ghosty stuff for Charlton. And there's Kane telling the story. And this is just a story of a ghost visiting his son after death because there's a conflict with his will, and finds the proof that right exactly where the ghost told him where it was. Only 3 pages, short and sweet. And another Kane's Game Room. Now we get to the main story. This was the cover story. The Beautiful Beast. This is really lovely. I've forgotten who. Joe Gill. Joe Gill wrote it, and it was drawn by Al Williamson. And of course, he was an alum of the EC Comics period, mostly adventure and science fiction. But here is on the horror side, and it fits right in it's just his beautiful work, great figure work, feathering. Of course, he later did some. Well, he was mostly in the science fiction, but he did some Flash Gordon stuff later on, and Star Wars. The very type of material that he was best at. And of course, also worked on Secret Agent X in the comic strips. So this guy, they're always in the swamp, and he's an escaped convict. And he's being chased into the swamp. They're always escaped convicts escaping into the swamp. But but we've seen historically. A lot of them did wind up going to the swamp to try to hide out and get away. And here this weird creature is assaulting him. Because that's not normal. Not a normal type of swamp critter. Something totally unknown. No, let me go. It grabs him. And then suddenly this beautiful young lady, looks like she come right out of, she looks just like Law from the Tarzan stories. And at her command, the beastie releases him. And then she takes him back. They're riding on that beastie. And again, just the sheer beauty of his line work. Of course, he did wonderful female figures, but he did wonderful male figures too. He used a lot of photo reference too. They would take photographs of himself and his friends and friends' wives and stuff, and so he had a lot of photo reference. And also during his earlier years, Roy Krenkel and Frank Frazetta, his close friends, helped him out an awful lot when he was getting behind on his deadlines. And here, of course, this looks something right out of this Rising Pyramid. It looks like something right out of Edgar Rice Burroughs. She goes in and he sees all this valuable gems and the like. Sacred stones. So no man defiles the sacred stones and lives. Simmer down, lady. I just wanted to see the necklace. That's what he wants. So of course, he's a criminal. He's greedy. And then, again, like right out of Burroughs, these caveman-looking dudes, which really reinforces the law-like aspect of her, and the beautiful detail and the composition in these panels, the beautiful detail, the backgrounds, lush, beautiful backgrounds, beautiful figures. I mean, cavemen. This is just a swamp like in Louisiana or California or Florida or someplace, and he manages to get away from them, and he goes out trying to hide in the woods, and then later he sneaks back. He sneaks back. While here they're chasing him, he takes them out. He takes those guys out. Some great action scenes. He was just wonderful at doing that stuff. And then, like, look at that. I'm sure that's probably Al himself, from a photograph. And he kills them. Then he sneaks back to the pyramid and sees the lady around this blazing fire, doing some kind of dance and some kind of ritual. Look at that! Look at that! The great face on him, the very moody aspect, the lighting, the shading, shadows, and in the process, the lady transforms into a gigantic snake. And he takes that opportunity and he attacks while fighting the snake. He kills it. I don't understand what was going on, but I got the gems. And then he takes off back into the swamp. And there you see the visage of that lady in the moonlight. And just as Joe Carver will be rich. But look out, Joe Carver. Something is rising from the water in front of you. Yeah, there's another gigantic snake. And it gets him, wraps herself around him, and crushes him to death. And then there she is. She got him. There she is, again, cradling his death. She's got you now, Joe Carver, for eternity. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I really, really enjoyed that book, and I did this especially for that particular story. Plus, I really liked this lead-in story with Cain, and of course, House of Mystery ran for many, many years after this. Joe Orlando was a primary editor and did a lot of the writing. Of course, Joe Orlando was, of course, an alum from the EC horror comics days and science fiction days. But the House of Mystery, for a long time, it wasn't the spooky type like this. It was just unusual stories, often and usually of a science fiction-y nature, because they were really limited on what they could do with the comics code. And this is about the time it was loosening up a bit. They were challenging the comics code, and it worked. So thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, share it with your other friends who like spooky and ghosty stories. Ooh. Or like Al Williamson. That's a good one, Al Williamson. And all those other things. And remember, comics are art.